NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Cup Final day on Football Live. The blue of Chelsea and the red of Liverpool. You'll get the build-up, the breaking team news in a little while as well. We've got the interviews, the action, the goals. You'll follow every kick. One way or another, the Cup Final at Wembley will be decided this afternoon, and you'll hear every single kick right here on Briller FM. We're ready. Are you?
It's the day of reckoning.
Liverpool
I believe that Liverpool would have enough.
take on Chelsea.
It's a really tough one to call.
Football Live on Briller FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
It's a cat and mouse game.
Who will get their hands on the first silverware of the season?
Oh, Liverpool fans.
Oh, Liverpool fans.
The Carabao Cup Final, live from Wembley Stadium.
Absolutely running riot.
Right here on Football Live.
A good day for a game of football.
Yes, and we've got it all covered right here on Football Live. Johnny Holmes is our match reporter for the big game at Wembley. Paul James is our reporter for our early featured match. That's the one match taking place today in the Premier League, and that is at Molineux. And we'll catch up with Paul in a short while. Let's hear from the Sheffield United manager, Chris Wilder. Now, he's fully aware that Sheffield United players are running out of time to mount a survival mission down at the bottom of the Premier League.
You know, I'm not shying away from anything, and I will take full responsibility what happened. Defeat against Villa and a defeat against Brighton in the league. I thought the scoreline was unjust in the cup game. We went for it and we conceded 2 late goals against Villa. There's no getting away from the fact that they went 4-0 up in double quick time and absolutely punished us for our mistakes. And it was a really long, difficult evening. And we get a man sent off against Brighton on Saturday and concede 2 quick goals. Understandable. That has happened. And how do we recover from it? The situation that we're trying to rectify is, you know, the quick goals that are going in and the trend that is happening. So you'll look at it from one way. I'll look at it for the players have given everything. Is there an absolute crisis on our hands here? No. It was a disappointing afternoon. Only 3 points lost, though.
Yes, that was the Sheffield United manager, Chris Wilder. It does look like them and Burnley are both on their way back down. And it's going to get interesting. Who's going to go down with them? Everton dropping points yesterday. We'll talk about the other games taking place in the Premier League yesterday. I'll have a chat with John Kane in just a minute. In fact, we're going to catch up with John very shortly for some odds on that Sheffield United game and the other games taking place this afternoon with NairaBet. We'll be looking at their latest odds as well. We'll be across to hear from the game at Molineux as well. Paul James, as I say, is our reporter there. We'll get some team news from him very shortly. Let's try and link up, shall we, with John Kane, who's in the studio with us this afternoon, producing the show. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Barry, and welcome everyone. Yeah, you did just a bit, yeah.
Very, very interesting afternoon. First of all, talking about Sheffield United against Wolves, or the other way round, Wolves against Sheffield United. Sheffield United did actually win this one, didn't they? The first game at Bramall Lane earlier in the season. Wolves looking for revenge this afternoon, and they're having a fantastic season. We'll hear the team news from Paul James in a minute. What are the odds on this game?
Yeah, I mean, the odds, as you expect, that February, they're in favour of Wolverhampton Wanderers. They are playing at home, and they are playing probably the weakest, or maybe the second weakest team, depends how you look at it, between them and Burnley. Sheffield United have been happy to concede so many goals as well. So the odds on Wolves at home, they are 1.50 for the win. The draw is 4.50. And if you fancy a Sheffield United away win, which I don't expect many people would, they are 6.50, which is a bit generous, to be fair. I would expect it to be a bit higher than that. But if people are interested in goals, as we know, loads of people love goals. So if we talk about over 2.5 goals, so 3 goals or more, it's 1.70. If you think it's over 3.5 goals, it's 2.70. And if you think it's going to be 5 goals or more, over 4.5 goals, it's 4.75. Now, also, both teams to score is a very popular one, Barry, which so many people love putting on. You just want a goal from each side, and it's actually on 1.85. And if you think it's going to be not both teams to score, it's 1.91. So more favourable that you're going to see goals today from both sides than actually not, as far as your betting is concerned. Of course, all from NireBet, and the old prices are subject to change.
Excellent, John. We will have a chat in just a minute about yesterday's matches in the Premier League. First of all, let's catch up with what's going to be happening today in the Premier League. Paul James is our man at the game that we've just mentioned. Molineux is the destination. Wolverhampton Wanderers against Sheffield United. Good afternoon to you, Paul. What's the team news?
Good afternoon. Well, Wolves have decided to stay with the same side that beat Tottenham Hotspur 2-1 last week, but they are missing Matheus Cunha, one of their leading scorers. He's out injured. For Sheffield United, they make 4 changes, most notably in goal. Ivo Gerbic steps in for Wes Fodringham. Austin Trusty comes in for Mason Holgate. And Oliver Norwood making his 550th appearance, an incredible sign of loyalty, not seen in football so much these days. He comes in for Ben Osborne. And finally, Ryan Brewster steps in for Will O'Sullivan. So 4 changes for Sheffield United. The last time Sheffield United won at Wolverhampton was in October 2002.
Excellent. Paul, you're talking about Ollie Norwood there, a great servant to Sheffield United. Got them promoted. Before that, he got Fulham promoted. He got Brighton promoted. And Sheffield United were the first team to give him a punt in the Premier League. The previous two, Brighton and Fulham, shipped him out of the door after he'd done the work in the Championship. So he got his chance in the Premier League. They did go down, Sheffield United, again. They've come back up again. So it's 4 promotions now from the Championship, but it does look like 2 relegations from the Premier League as well. He's very much an up and down player, isn't he?
He is, and he's the type of player that I kind of feel a bit sorry for, because he hasn't really had much of a chance in the Premier League, despite him doing the work and getting there and helping his team get there. He's not done too badly this season, but he's in a side that's really, really struggling, of just not being able to compete at this level, unfortunately.
Absolutely right. We're really looking forward to this one. It's a must-win for Sheffield United, just like the game yesterday for Burnley away at Crystal Palace, and they didn't manage to pull that off. We've got John Kane in the studio with us. John, we stay with that game at Selhurst Park, shall we? Crystal Palace against Burnley yesterday. They had that sending off, didn't they? And from that moment onwards, there was only ever going to be one winner, and they seem to be turning the tide now. Crystal Palace, they've got rid of Roy Hodgson in whatever way they did, and they've got in Oliver Glasner. It's going to be a different Crystal Palace over the course of time than the one that Roy Hodgson has assembled. I spoke to a Crystal Palace fan yesterday, and he refuses to go to Selhurst Park whilst Roy Hodgson is in charge. He just doesn't like watching the football. I think it's going to be a different story under Oliver Glasner, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anyone who actually have seen the way Eintracht Frankfurt used to play in the Bundesliga under Oliver Glasner, you'll think that team looked so good, didn't it? They've done so well in Europe. They've done so well in the Bundesliga. Yeah, they haven't won it, but with the domination of Bayern Munich, who else would have done? But he done so well at Eintracht Frankfurt. And yesterday, watching the highlights of that game, it does look like a bit of Eintracht already in that team, isn't it? I know, I appreciate people saying, well, it's only Burnley. Yes, it's only Burnley, but at the end of the day, first impressions are always really, really good. And I think Palace have got the really good young players, which I think Oliver Glasner can actually make good use of, and he did yesterday. It was a really good performance. Yes, the sending off for Burnley does have a bit of an effect, but at the end of the day, I think Crystal Palace wouldn't really care about that, and they only care about the 3 points and the manner how they won it, and they done it very well, and a great result, plus a clean sheet. I know they conceded the goal, which were disallowed, and that's the reason why VAR is there, to disallow the unwanted goals, or the, not the right goals. But a great result and great start for Oliver Glasner.
Indeed. Shall we have a listen to what Oliver Glasner had to say after his first match in charge of Crystal Palace? Win as well against Burnley. Here's what he had to say.
Yes, this was what we were speaking about at halftime. Yeah, played a brilliant first half also before the red card. So we were very dominant. We created chances, and I think at halftime it was 6-0 shots for us. So in defense we did it brilliant. And then we said, okay, stay patient. Always keep the balance in the game. We will create our chances. And congratulations to the players. So they did it really fantastic, and so they deserve all the credit today, and congratulations.
And we're back with John Kane in a minute to just look at all the other games that took place yesterday in the Premier League, and then we'll be keeping a close eye on our featured game this afternoon in the Premier League. Wolves against Sheffield United. We'll be building up to Liverpool against Chelsea, which we will have live and exclusive right here on Football Live later on in the show. Cagliari against Victor Osimhen's Napoli is one of our featured games this afternoon. We'll also be watching Athletic Bilbao, who are pushing for a Champions League spot in Spain. They are away at Real Betis, and AZ Alkmaar against Ajax is our featured match in the Dutch Eredivisie, and we'll pop into the Bundesliga for the aforementioned Eintracht Frankfurt, who were once managed by that man that you just heard, Oliver Glasner. They are at home this afternoon against Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga. That's our featured game in the Bundesliga. So that's what we've got coming up this afternoon. So far this afternoon, there have been a few matches that have been played up and down Europe. Half-time, Monaco are leading in France by 2-1 at the Stade Bollard Delali against Lens. So they went 2-0 up there following Balogun, the former Arsenal man. First goal in 8, only his 5th of the season, giving them the league. Takumi Minamino made it 2-0 to Monaco, but Elie Wahi has pulled one back just before half-time. Club Brugge in Belgium are leading Anderlecht, third against second at the Jan Breidel Stadium by a 0-0. Ferenc Jukla with an early goal in that game. It's only just started. Juventus against Frosinone, well, that one started like a rocket. It was 2-2 in no time at all. Johan Vlahovic scoring 2 for Juve. In between those 2 goals, 2 goals for Frosinone as well at the Allianz. It's currently 2-2, so maybe a little bit of a surprise there. And another foot up for the team that are top, Inter Milan. And elsewhere, Motherwell currently leading in Scotland against Celtic. In fact, Celtic have just equalised in that game. It's 1-1 at Fir Park. Celtic, if they drop points, really handing the initiative in the title race to Rangers, who we heard yesterday were victorious in the SPL against Hearts. Well, convincing scoreline as well. They're really in the ascendancy at the moment, Rangers, and a great unbeaten run. And Celtic have had a wobble, and they're having another wobble this afternoon, but they are back on level terms now. Blair Spittle had scored Motherwell's opener in the first half. Celtic are actually unbeaten in 10, despite losing top spot. They've won their last 8 visits to Fir Park, but they're going to have to pull out all the stops to do that this afternoon. And in the Eredivisie, finally, before we return to the chat that we were having about the Premier League, I can tell you that bottom club Vitesse Arnhem have scored very, very late on in their game today. Excelsior 1, Vitesse 2. Nicholas Isamat Merin scoring just 4 minutes from time. That is a massive win for Vitesse, who are in the bottom position in the table. That takes them off the bottom. First win in 6. Excelsior are only 1 place and 3 points above the drop zone themselves. Vitesse trying desperately to stay up and maintain a long stay in the Eredivisie. They don't want to drop down to the Eredivisie, but they may well do this season. But that is a massive game. And it's 2-1, it's finished to Vitesse. Just quickly, Celta Vigo have taken the lead very early on in Spain, away at Cadiz. A goal from Iago Aspas, giving Celta Vigo the lead in that game. Let's join up again with John Kane. Let's talk Arsenal, shall we? Wow, last night, it was after the end of the Saturday show with Dean Kilford here on Football Live, exclusive on Brilla FM. They were at home against Newcastle, and they turned on the fireworks, didn't they, John? A 4-1 home victory.
Well, didn't they just? The performance was absolutely outstanding. I've seen a few Newcastle fans pointing out that actually the goalkeeper is Karius, which is he's always been a weakest point wherever he's been, isn't he? At Liverpool and abroad, and he's come back for Newcastle. And I appreciate that point that Karius probably not one of the best goalkeepers that you probably want, especially after and he's definitely third choice behind Nick Pope and Dubravka. However, you could not take away the manner how Arsenal won that game. They were on fire from the word go, and they were just magnificent throughout the game, and you couldn't really fault it. And that puts them just a point behind Man City and 2 points behind Liverpool. But they scored more goals than all of them. In fact, no, just 1 goal behind Liverpool. I have to correct myself. But they've been absolutely brilliant this season, and I think Arsenal sort of learning from the mistakes that they done last season. Last season, they were top of the league one night, and then they lost at Man City towards the end. And I think they've got more reinforcement, which is they increased their depth this season, whereas something that they lacked last season. Everyone say, well, Man City was still going to win because of the depth they have, and that played a big difference for Manchester City, and also played a big difference in a negative way for Arsenal. But yesterday, they were brilliant, and even the players that took off and the substitutes that came on, they were all world-class players, and they carried on doing exactly what they need to do. 10 out of 10 for them for yesterday. I know as a Spurs fan doesn't really help, but you know what? You have to admire the way football's been played. And under Arteta I'm sure the Arsenal fans were very, very happy with that.
Yeah, they would have been very, very happy with that 4-1 victory. Perhaps their only blot on the copybook, a late goal for Newcastle to perhaps give them a slight degree of satisfaction and respectability in the scoreline. But let's hear from one of the Arsenal goal scorers, in fact, Bukayo Saka.
Yeah, I'm happy with another goal today, and most importantly, I'm happy to win. Well, I'm working hard every day in the training ground and giving my best, and obviously I have great teammates give me good passes, so that helps as well. I think we've been working hard on the training pitch, like I said, and we have a lot of quality going forward, and I feel like it's just starting to click now. We're all playing with a lot of confidence, and the chemistry is building as well, so we just need to continue like this.
Yeah, he comes across really well, doesn't he, Bukayo Saka? And another goal yesterday, tormenting Newcastle United. Arsenal 4, Newcastle 1, the result in that game. Let's speak about Aston Villa, 4-2 victors over Nottingham Forest in the Midlands derby, John, and they're in good form at the moment again. Villa had that little wobble, didn't they? But they've really started to find form. Good win for them last week away at Fulham, and then a good win yesterday against Nottingham Forest. And 6 points out of 6, that puts them right back in their stride and back in the mix for a top 4 finish.
No, absolutely. It was a great result, and people say, well, Forest is down more or less 16th and down the bottom 5, but at the end of the day, it was still a Midland derby. That meant a lot for both clubs, and what that big win does for Aston Villa, it keeps them 6 points behind Arsenal, but at the end of the day, it still puts the pressure on, because any few slips from the top 3, then Villa are breathing underneath their neck. But also, in a good way, it pushed them away from Tottenham into 5 points. Tottenham, of course, they're not playing this weekend because they're supposed to play Chelsea, and of course that game has been postponed due to the cup finals happening today. But Villa's performance yesterday, Ollie Watkins, if the guy just can't stop scoring, and also Douglas Luiz, who had a couple himself, isn't he? We've seen him score goals before, Douglas Luiz, who actually brilliant player, and he was linked with Arsenal in the summer as well. But to score 2 goals in 10 minutes, I'm sure he'll be very delighted with that.
Yeah, looking at the fixtures, actually, John, they've got some great games coming up, Villa. They go to Luton in their next game before going to Ajax in the Europa League. You'd fancy them over 2 legs against Ajax, and then Aston Villa then taking on Tottenham at home, then the return leg at home to Ajax before a trip to West Ham. So some really tricky games there, but some very tasty games as well. Villa really on the ascendancy at the moment. Another 2 goals for Douglas Luiz yesterday. Here he is.
Yeah, the game is so comfort today. I can score 2 goals. I'm really happy. I feeling this before the game. I speak to my girlfriend and I say, oh, today I score 100%, and I come to the pitch and score 2 times. I'm really happy for the performance to the team. Yeah, I'm really happy. You can control the game for the first half, in the second time, I think you come a bit like sleep. The game is never finished after 90 minutes, and then you need to concentrate more and more focus. Big result for us is great, and then you need to keep going. Is good result for us. Manchester United lost today, and then it's good for us too, and they need to keep going.
Yeah, that was Douglas Luiz. Another 2 goals for him yesterday, and Aston Villa seeing off Nottingham Forest 4-2 in that game. We'll hear from the Nottingham Forest manager, Espirito Santo, later on in the show, I am sure. John, next up, Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 1. City imperious at times, didn't really add that touch of class in front of goal, but they did enough. Phil Foden, another goal from him. He's really on form at the moment. And the main thing is they've got 3 points in what could have been a tricky fixture away at Bournemouth.
No, absolutely. I mean, you can't take anything away from Bournemouth this season. They're playing very, very well under Areola. They're getting really good results, to be fair to them. When you consider the size of the club in comparison to the other clubs around them, they're doing very, very well, and they're playing very well. And I'm just looking at the stats, and I mean, Man City had 15 shots with 6 on target. Bournemouth had 13 shots with 4 on target, and that's really, it's really, really good. You're playing probably the best team in the world to produce all these goal attempts and all be allowed to produce all these goal attempts, and with possession with nearly 40% as well. So it's not a bad return possession-wise. Of course, that could not take away the 3 points that Man City managed to get in the end, and Man City needed that win, and that an early goal from Phil Foden as well. It sort of helped them to steer them into the right direction for the remainder of the game. But it's going to be very hard to stop Man City, and I know yesterday it was only 1-0 against Bournemouth, but let's not underestimate Bournemouth. They have been playing very good football this season.
Yes, Manchester City go to Luton in the FA Cup this week. That should be a tasty fixture. And then, sandwiched in between that cup game and the cup game in the Champions League against Copenhagen, which you would expect them to negotiate safely, there is the small matter next Sunday of the Manchester Derby. And then, on the 10th, it's the game that it could well go a long way to deciding the title. It's Liverpool against Manchester City at Anfield. We will, of course, have that covered right here on Football Live. And then they go to Brighton. So if you think that Manchester City have got it easy, then they certainly haven't in those fixtures, have they, John?
No, absolutely not. And I mean, Brighton did slip yesterday, didn't they? And they slipped with 2 points. But any team that plays Brighton is going to be tough, isn't it? It's going to be tough. For what De Zerbi's actually been doing for Brighton, anyone will go to Brighton, or if you're actually having Brighton at home, it's going to be a hard game. Regardless, it doesn't matter how you look at it. It's always a hard game against Brighton.
Yeah, and we mentioned we've only got a couple of games to go. Everton going to Brighton, 1-0 up, and then Brighton have a man sent off, Billy Gilmore, straight red card. You expect Everton to see it through from there. But Brighton threw everything forward and managed to get an equaliser and a point. Good point from Everton away from home, but in the circumstances, I think Sean Dyche would have been very disappointed, wouldn't he?
No, absolutely. And Brighton's goal came in where they're playing with 10 men, and it came in literally probably the last kick of the game. We talk about 5 minutes into injury time. So credit to Brighton to coming back and getting the point when before the game everyone was expecting him to scoop the 3 points easily. But more importantly, it's for Everton, because they feel that actually got a point to keep them 1 point above Luton and above the relegation zone. And you consider how the way Everton's season lined up with the deductions of the points. So many Everton fans think that they shouldn't be in that position, but it is what it is for the time being. They're on 21 points, and that point was well fought for. Could have been better if they just managed to hold on just a bit longer. But as for Brighton, they sort of slipped a bit behind Manchester United. I think the only grace that happened for them yesterday was Newcastle losing, who are below them, and Manchester United also losing, and that kept them just decreased the point between them rather than actually taking it further if United had won, which we'll talk about shortly anyway.
Yeah, and obviously down at the bottom, it's all about points deduction. Someone said to me yesterday, and it's absolutely right, Everton could well get some points back, or all of their points back, and then they could get another points deduction. Nottingham Forest could get a points deduction. And at the same time, there's other teams that are on paper innocent, the Luton Towns and the other teams are down at the bottom there. Brentford have been down there as well. And they don't know where to plan, because they don't know what this. It's an uneven playing field, isn't it, with the relegation battle, because it's going to change in due course one way or another with all these points deductions. It's all a bit of a farce, really, isn't it?
It is actually, and what you said is absolutely right. The teams around Everton don't know if this is how they're going to be by the end of the season, or if they're going to appeal and get their points back. And if that happens, it's going to take them up literally halfway through the table. We're talking about touching on Wolves and Fulham, and above Crystal Palace. So we're talking about 11, 12, 13 points. And if you put that into perspective, then all of a sudden you see that Forest are the ones that will be fighting for relegation, even more so than Everton. So it sort of plays in their mind, isn't it? Brentford, Everton, Luton. I think Burnley, Sheffield United, we sort of discounted at the moment, because I really can't see how both teams can stay. But Luton, they've shown really encouraging signs of recent times. In the last few games, they've been playing very good football as well. They have no fear at the moment from playing anyone, regardless of how some of the results are turning up. But they're actually showing some really good football, and that probably Luton will be the only one that actually could scare off Everton and drag them into that relegation zone. And Forest, well, I mean, Santos have brought quite a few results, but they're not really steady as yet at the moment. Not from where I can see it, anyway.
It's a brutal old battle down at the bottom there. John, we've only got one more game to discuss. We'll do that in just a second. I forgot which game it was, but it will come to me in a minute. Juventus 2-2 against Frosinone in the Italian Serie A. That was very early on in the game. That's how it stayed until the 95th minute, when Daniela Rugani scored deep into stoppage time for Juventus. Juventus at the Allianz Stadium, now 3-2 up on Frosinone, and I can tell you that is a result as well. And Trezeguet, former Aston Villa Premier League player, has got an early goal for Trabzonspor in Turkey this afternoon. They are at home in the Turkish Super League against Demirspor at Papara Park. 3rd against 11th. Good start there for Trezeguet and Trabzonspor, who are leading in the early stages of that game. Still 1-1 between Motherwell and Celtic. And just a quick reminder that two teams are in the tunnel at Molineux. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers against Sheffield United. We'll be across to that one very shortly for regular updates with our reporter at Molineux, Paul James. And we'll also be keeping an eye on our other featured games this afternoon. Kick-off in just over half an hour. Napoli go to Cagliari in Serie A, and we're really looking forward to that one as well. That should be a really cracking game between two sides desperate for the points in that game in Italy and Serie A. We've got a featured game a little bit later on in Spain. Real Betis against Athletic Bilbao. AZ Alkmaar, I should say, against Ajax is our featured match in the Netherlands, in the Eredivisie, and in the Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt against Wolfsburg. Some great games. Oh, and by the way, this is just a small matter of the Carabao Cup final as well. Liverpool against Chelsea. We'll be building up for that one in a short while throughout the course of the afternoon. We'll have team news for that, in fact, in just over half an hour from now. Liverpool against Chelsea. Liverpool, plenty of injuries. Be interesting to see what their starting 11 is. John, one more game. I've remembered what one it was. Well, it was Manchester United against Fulham. And, well, it went the way of Fulham, didn't it? By 2-1 at Old Trafford. 10th Premier League defeat of the season for Manchester United. They stay in the top 6. But I've seen this game. You've probably seen this game. And Manchester United, they were second best, weren't they?
They were second best most of the game, to be honest. Fulham were all over them. They really been playing attacking football. It was beautiful to watch as well, from Fulham perspective, of course, not from Man United perspective. But when they equalised, from Harry Maguire, everyone thought, game on. You know, this is Man United for the taking. They've done it before, didn't they? I can't remember who they're playing, but they were 1-0 down, and Scott McTominay scored twice, didn't he, in the last few minutes? But it wasn't meant to be. It was definitely a Nigerian show yesterday when Calvin Bassey had put them up front, and then it was Ayobi who scored in the 7th minute. And it was a great win for the Nigerians in Fulham. It was a great win for Fulham. And you just have to wonder where's going to go from there for Erik ten Hag. I mean, the problem is the managers, you take them about 2-3 seasons to adapt. But it seems like Man United are not really going any further from they were before. You see with Arteta, they're going forward, they're moving forward. But with Man United, and we've heard yesterday in the show, so many listeners were calling in, wondering about Erik ten Hag. You know, is he the right man after all? And I think with a new board coming in as well, and Sir Ratcliffe, I believe, if I remember right.
Yeah, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But they've also got the technical director coming in, a first ever technical director that's set to come in from Newcastle. And that could make all the difference in the way that they administer the signings. I don't know who's making those signings. It's never really been clear. But the signings that they've made over the past 2 or 3 years have simply not been good enough. If you look at that Manchester United team and you say, right, how many of those players will get in the Arsenal team? How many of those players will get in the Liverpool team? How many of those players will get in the Manchester City team? I'm struggling to get beyond one.
No, absolutely. I mean, normally Bruno Fernandes, hasn't he, has been the man who actually run the show for Manchester United, and he's been one of the other players, the big name players, who's been anonymous. And you think the amount of money they spend on Anthony as well, and he hasn't been really much of a saviour for Manchester United. And of course, the list goes on and on of number of players they've got who actually are big name players. Christian Eriksen, you know, Harry Maguire, yeah, and they brought in a new keeper as well, in Onana, but it's not working out the way it is at the moment, as far as we're concerned.
No. You know, was he any better than De Gea? It's a big argument. That
and De Gea, and I was going to say, De Gea is still a free agent. You know, he can still come back and save the day for Manchester United. Who knows? Who knows?
I don't think that will happen once Ten Hag is in charge. And, you know, that would almost be admitting he got it wrong. And I'm not a big Ten Hag fan, but at the moment, I think it's going to be really interesting how it pans out in the coming weeks and months. To see how Manchester United start going forward. You know, they're on about the philosophy that they're gonna knock Manchester City off their perch.
You know what?
They've got a long way to go, haven't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, yesterday I was listening to the breaks during our shows, and I was listening to FJ talking, and he actually did mention something which only looked at it. It's like that game was literally, it was 2 Nigerians scored against Cameroon, and obviously we know the rivalry in Africa between Cameroon and Nigeria. That made it an extra sweet for any Fulham fans who are Nigerians to have scored 2 goals against the man from Cameroon.
Yeah, absolutely. We will hear from Alex Iwobi later on in the show, the goal scorer, that late winner in Fergie time. The 97th minute, he scored the winner, the Nigerian, past the Cameroon goalkeeper. We'll hear from Alex Iwobi a little bit later on. He's taken some stick in the last few weeks, so it's great to see him back with a smile on his face. Here is the Fulham manager, Marco Silva, who's also got a smile on his face.
The better team on the pitch won the game this afternoon. We're the team that created more chance all the game, that played better and trying to win most of the moments of the game, in my opinion. A bit more, even if you create very good number of chances first half, more balance. Of course, we had our moments. Man United reacted well first half. And the last 10 minutes, they had their moments as well, but the clear chances during that moment, that first half was from ourselves, even if they have 2 or 3 moments, injured moments as well. Second half, 30 minutes of the second half, the way we control the game, the way we play always in our offensive half against Man United at Old Trafford is not easy to do it. Old Trafford was on fire in that moment, and they believe that they can really well deserve 3 points. I repeat again, the best team won.
I think few people will argue. I watched the extended highlights of that game, and you can't argue with the fact that the best team won. So Manchester United won, Fulham 2. That is our roundup of Saturday's matches. Now we're on to Sunday. we'll head to Molineux in a second. Just to let you know, we'll also get some team news from our featured game, Cagliari against Napoli in Serie A. Our very own Italian football expert, Andrew Buonacore, is on standby to give us the team news from that game. But let's head to Molineux first and foremost, and to our man Paul James. Early stages of the game, still 0-0. What, about 4 minutes gone, Paul?
Yeah, just about that, Barry. And, well, we had a little bit of drama. The ball broke into the penalty area from Pedro Neto. And the Sheffield United goalkeeper, Ivo Gerbic, came out to claim the ball. And he slid with it, and he almost took it outside the penalty area. In fact, looking at the camera review, it looked like he did. But there was nothing given by our referee today, Darren Bond. So it's only his third game in charge. Still 0-0.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. We'll head to the game in Italy in a short while. Napoli go to Cagliari this afternoon, and we'll get some team news from that game very shortly with Andrew Buonacore. Let's just quickly catch up with John one more time. John, you know, we're looking at, you know, legends. We like to look at legends, us old fogies that we are. And it was sad to hear yesterday, former legend of the game, Stan Bowles, passed away last night. Former Queen's Park Rangers man, Manchester City, I think he was as well, wasn't he? And England. He was a great player, wasn't he? You remember those pitches in the 70s? They weren't quite as green as the green grass that we play on now. It was muddy, and the physicality of the game was quite a lot more severe. And for a player like him with flair, you know, you had a lot to contend with, but he was a fine player, wasn't he?
He was absolutely a brilliant player, wasn't he? I mean, you actually mentioned it in a very brilliant way, to be honest, because people don't realise how ungreen the grass was at the time, you know. And when you see players and you hear about players like Steve Bowles and Diego Maradona and a few others who had that flair in football, it was never easy for them to play on them pitches, you know. And with tackles flying in right, left and centre, it literally makes it 10 times harder when you see people like Ronaldo or Messi or anyone else doing the same. But he was a brilliant player for QPR. People remember Jerry Francis and a few others, but he was definitely in that mix of players, one of the best players to ever play for QPR in England. But sadly, shall we say, that's life, and condolences to his family and his friends.
Yes, absolutely. Right, let's head to Italy now. Andrew Buonacore is going to be watching this one. Kick-off just a shade over 20 minutes away. It's Cagliari against Napoli, and going to be watching this one and bringing us the team news. Good afternoon, Andrew Buonacore.
Good afternoon, Barry. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Napoli's third boss of this hangover season. His name is Franco Calzona, and he was assistant to the last two Napoli bosses, but he's the man in the hot seat for the foreseeable future, at least. He's ringing in the changes with an exciting front three for this game. It's a departure from tactics so far this season. This game gives Napoli a great chance to finally kickstart their season against a very poor relegation-threatened Cagliari side. The big news is that Victor Osimhen starts for Napoli. He shrugged off flu symptoms and is joined up front by Kvaratskhelia and Giacomo Raspadori, who's in for Politano. Captain Di Lorenzo misses out through suspension, but Zielinski is back in midfield. Napoli's former boss, Claudio Ranieri, the Cagliari boss, is without four first-teamers, but ex-Napoli striker Gaetano comes in for Ranieri. Napoli must get going at some point this season. Today should be the day. From the Unipol Doma Stadium, it's Cagliari versus Napoli.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Victor Osimhen needs to start firing on all cylinders again. He had a fairly quiet AFCON, of course, and he's gone back to Italy now, and we'll be hoping to start firing the goals. In the meantime, we'll take a short break. You are listening to Football Live.
From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
Join on the corner where the big boys play.
Get involved in NairaBet's Super Sunday Special and net yourself a free bet.
Chelsea take on Liverpool at Wembley Stadium in the EFL Cup final, and we are giving away a 100% match free bet up to €500. Whether you back Pochettino's Blues or Klopp's Reds, you will still be eligible for a free bet regardless of who wins. All you need to do is log in to www.nairabet.com. Bets on Chelsea versus Liverpool receive your free bet to use on any sport or virtuals. To qualify, just place a bet on either the pre-match markets or in play. Full details can be found on our promotions page. You must be over the age of 18, minimum odds of 1.5, must be a real money bet. Cash out bets do not qualify. General and free bet terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Absolute screamer.
Banging form.
Into dreamland.
Oh my God, they were crying.
What was he doing in the box?
Check my phone, mate, he's not in there.
He looks thoroughly disgusted.
They've been absolutely brilliant. That's proper.
So much to tell you about.
So much going on.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
In the Premier League, you just never know.
You are listening to Football Live on Brilla FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM. Coming up next Saturday, Premier League action, including Brentford
It's that man I that told me.
against Chelsea,
Super play by Chelsea.
1, 2, 3, hit that.
Tottenham Hotspur
Young-Min Son does it once again.
take on Crystal Palace.
There's no stopping Kabir when he's in his mood. Here we go again.
Join us again next weekend on Football Live. Around the grounds, chasing the goals.
You are listening to Football Live.
Live and exclusive on Brilla FM.
A good type of game of football.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live.
Hit it, boys.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Yes, indeed. Back here on Football Live, exclusively live on this cup final afternoon on Brilla FM. Motherwell 1, Celtic 1 with less than 10 minutes to go in that game in the SPFL in Scotland. Rangers winning handsomely yesterday. The title is now very much in their hands, especially if Celtic can't find a late winner at Motherwell at Fir Park this afternoon. Let's head to Molineux, shall we? We've had 10 minutes of action in our one and only Premier League match of the afternoon. Wolverhampton Wanderers against bottom of the table Sheffield United, and so far a clean sheet for Sheffield United, Paul James.
Yeah, but not surprising, Wolves have definitely been the better team. They've created a couple of chances early on. Pablo Sarabia slipped the ball through to Pedro Neto. Now, he could have shot right away, instead he held up, and in doing so he allowed the Sheffield United defence to get back, and he only managed to pull the shot wide. Another opportunity down the right-hand side, Hwang Hee-chan got the shot away, but it was a very tight angle and he just wasn't able to put the ball past the goalkeeper. So we have 11 minutes gone here. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Sheffield United 0.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. And yeah, that's going to be an interesting one this afternoon. Sheffield United, if they are to stay up, do need to start winning games. And I listened to the whole interview that was given by their manager, Wilder earlier, Chris Wilder. I forgot his first name there for a second. And he did say, look, one win isn't enough. We need back-to-back wins. We need 3 wins. We need 4 wins in a row. We need to be picking up 10 points out of 12 just to give us a fighting chance. And you do wonder where those wins are coming from. We promise you drama this afternoon, and we promise you it because the Carabao Cup final at Wembley Stadium is a little over an hour away. We're going to start our build-up very shortly. It's Chelsea against Liverpool. We will be running the show to the conclusion at Wembley this afternoon. The last 2 times these two have met at Wembley, there hasn't been a single goal in 120 minutes of football. It went to penalties on both occasions, Liverpool winning on penalties. Will it be a different story this afternoon? We shall wait and see. We should get some team news very soon on the game. As I say, we are guaranteeing drama this afternoon on Football Live, just like we did yesterday. Here is a little recap on the one standout result from yesterday's show with Dean Kilford.
And let's go and hear about that brilliant goal out Old Trafford with Jack Hesson.
Oh, what a strike from the Super Eagle to stun Old Trafford. A great corner whipped in from the near side. It falls to Bassey. Powerful shot into the roof of the goal. No chance for Onana.
And it's Harry Maguire in the last minutes at Old Trafford. Let's go and hear about that goal with Jack Hesson.
Yeah, it's a goal for Manchester United, 1-1. Bruno Fernandes shot, well saved by Leno, but the rebound fell straight to Harry Maguire, who was right in front of it and really could not miss that from 2 yards.
It's Manchester United 1, Fulham 2, and Alex Iwobi in the 7th minute of stoppage time has shortly seen Fulham take all 3 points back down to the capital.
Well, it's been the Super Eagles today who have beaten Manchester United, and they just hit them on a quick counter-attack. United bringing too many men forward. Adama Traore showing his pace and his power to go all the way towards the goal. He feeds into Iwobi completely unmarked, and he goes for a driven shot to the bottom right-hand corner. Onana rooted, and that Fulham away end goes absolutely crazy. They have snatched it here. Man United 1, Fulham 2.
So, Manchester United 1, Fulham 2 yesterday. What's it going to be in the two big games this afternoon? We've got Wolverhampton Wanderers against Sheffield United, which is now up and underway. 15 minutes gone, still Wolves 0, Sheffield United 0. We'll be back across to Paul James and get an update on that game very soon. We've got Victor Osimhen in action in the next 10-15 minutes. It's Napoli away at Cagliari this afternoon at the Unipol Domus. We're looking forward to that one. Andrew Bonacore is keeping an eye on that. We should be getting some team news fairly soon from the game at Wembley, Carabao Cup final. Johnny Holmes, our reporter for that game. We'll have some team news very, very shortly from our Bundesliga encounter that is just over, it's about 45 minutes from kickoff in the Bundesliga at the Duschbank Park this afternoon. Mark Thomas will be joining us very shortly for team news for Eintracht Frankfurt against Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga. Really looking forward to that one as well. We've also got Real Betis against Bilbao with David Doyle in the Estadio Benito Villamarin in Spain and La Liga. And AZ Alkmaar against Ajax. Jack Hesson is our man at the AFAS Stadium. Oh, and Wembley as well. Carabao Cup final, I did mention that. Johnny Holmes is our reporter. We've got loads of action to follow this afternoon, and we'll also keep you bang up to date with the latest goals as and when they go in, including FC20 taking the lead against Go Ahead Eagles in the Eredivisie in the Netherlands this afternoon. 1-0 there thanks to a goal from Sem Stein after just 12 minutes for FC20. Go Ahead unbeaten in 5, currently 6th in the table, but 20 having a magnificent season themselves in 3rd place in the table. They were 2-0 down in France at Lens, but they're now back to 2-2. Wesley Said with 13 minutes to go in that game in France. It's Lens 2, Monaco 2, and they're all square in that game in France. So, right, let's head to Germany, shall we? We've got some team news for you. Mark Thomas, good afternoon to you. Frankfurt against Wolfsburg. Really looking forward to this one. What can you tell us in terms of team news ahead of kickoff?
Well, hi Barry, and hi everybody listening. A very good afternoon to you. Frankfurt manager Dino Topmöller has made 5 changes from their last outing. It was a 3-3 draw with Freiburg, and he's taken out Hasabi, Chihiri. Mario Götze is missing. He's on the bench today. Chiabi and Kaladzic. In come Max, Johnny van der Beek, of course, from his arrival from Manchester United. Buta, Ekitike, and the Brazilian junior Edimar. Wolfsburg, meanwhile, they haven't won since last year, so they're looking for their first win of the year. They do make one change from the team that held Borussia Dortmund last week, Barry. In comes Yannick Gerhardt, replacing Svensson in midfield. Only 9 points between these teams. We're looking forward to a very competitive game. Kicks off in about 40 minutes.
Thank you very much. Look forward to keeping pace with that game with you, Mark Thomas, this afternoon. And of course, we've also got Victor Osimhen in action. We've got Wolverhampton Wanderers against Sheffield United, and we've got the Carabao Cup final. What are your predictions for that one? Arsenal fans, you must be delighted with not only 3 points last night, but the performance. Arsenal are clicking through the gears and are looking imperious at the moment. What are your thoughts on the title race? You'll be able to connect with FJ very shortly when we head back to the Brilla FM studios. Manchester United fans, you had plenty to say yesterday after losing at home to Fulham. Have you got it out of your system yet? Are you still angry at that defeat? Is Ten Hag the man? Well, there's only one way to make your connection, and that is like this.
We will be crossing back to the Brilla FM studio very soon. Have your say on today's action and interact with Brilla FM on Twitter at Brilla FM 889, on Facebook at 889 Brilla FM, and on Instagram Brilla FM 889.
Yes, indeed. FJ is waiting for your calls, and we'll be right across social media as well. We'll be handing back to FJ in around about 6 minutes from sorry, not 6 minutes, about 16 minutes from now. Jumping the gun there, 16 minutes from now. Still 0-0, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Sheffield United, and we're waiting for kick-off. Just over 10 minutes away. Victor Osimhen in action this afternoon. Napoli have already surrendered the title, I think it's fair to say. Despite Juventus winning today, it is Inter Milan's to lose, isn't it? They are looking a good bet for the title. I watched them the other night in the Champions League. What a game against Atletico Madrid. They are a good team, Inter Milan. Dark horses for the Champions League, but that is dark horses for the Champions League, but that is a mouth-watering second leg. Atletico Madrid against Inter. Inter leading by a goal to nil in the first leg at the San Siro. Brilliant tie that is in the Champions League. Let's head to the game at Molineux, shall we? And let's catch up with Paul James. Paul, there's been a chance for the bottom of the table side, Sheffield United.
Yes, there has, and it's actually the first shot on goal, I might add. The cross came in on the far side. It was blocked initially by Craig Dawson, but it fell to Rehan Brewster. He caught it sweetly on the volley and forced Jose Sarr into a rather extraordinary save. Wolves had a couple of chances before then as well, falling to Mario Lemina, a bicycle kick that was deflected from, I think it was Austin Trusty wide, and from the resulting corner, the header from Pablo Sarabia was turned over the crossbar, so it's still 0-0.
Thank you very much for that update there, Paul James at Molineux. Sheffield United needing a victory this afternoon. Wolverhampton Wanderers have been pretty good at home this season, though they've had a couple of wobbles of late. Wolves up in mid-table. And yeah, it's looking like that one is going to be a tighter affair than perhaps some of the Sheffield United games of late. 5 they conceded at home to Brighton. That was in the Cup and in the league. 5 they conceded against Aston Villa as well. They've conceded plenty of goals this season. 8 against Newcastle much earlier in the season. I think if you rerun that one now, I don't think Newcastle would get 8. They're not in great form. And they were certainly overrun yesterday by Arsenal, who beat them 4-1 in the late kickoff at the Emirates Stadium. We will have team news from the Emirates very soon. We're about 10 minutes away from finding out who is playing and who is not. There are plenty of injuries to reflect on for Liverpool going into that game. Let's hear from Jurgen Klopp, who can give us a little bit more detail about all of those injuries at Anfield at the moment.
The situation is not great, absolutely not. We don't have to make that now nicer than this. But obviously, there are now a lot of, and for us, obviously, super important games coming up, and we don't know. So we go day by day. I cannot say anything about it, and I don't know. But after Brentford, I had no clue that the situation will be like it was then, or it was now. So let's see. There's one phrase which stands: as long as we have 11, we will go for it.
Well, 3rd minute of injury time, and Celtic have just taken the lead. 6 minutes of added time at Fir Park. Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. They keep that title race alive, Celtic, with a goal deep into injury time. And it's a second goal in the game for Ida, on loan from Norwich City. Came on as a substitute at half-time, and he's gone and scored 2 goals and changed the whole complexion of that game and the title race in Scotland. Great touch at the near post to beat the goalkeeper at the near post with a first-time finish. It's a really clinical finish from the Norwich City loanee to give Celtic a 2-1 lead at Fir Park, and they are rocking and rolling now. Celtic, who said the title race is over. Adam Ida with his 2nd of the game, and Monaco have just scored in injury time as well. They're 2-2 in their game this afternoon at Lens. So, sorry, they scored again. It's 3-2, I should say. My producers put 2-2. I thought it's already 2-2. I'm just going to ignore that. It's 3-2 they lead away at Lens. That is an injury time goal as well. As soon as I hear the goal scorer, in fact, I can tell you it's Takumi Minamino. 2 minutes into stoppage time. The former Liverpool man, of course, has scored his second of the afternoon. They were 2-0 up, back to 2-2, but they've gone and got a late winner. Takumi Minamino with the goal, and it's Lens 2, Monaco 3. Let's get back to Molineux. Paul James can tell us about another great chance for Sheffield United.
Yes, it's that man Brewster again. He was going down the right-hand side for Sheffield United. He got inside the penalty area. Lamina was forcing him wide, and he struck the shot over the crossbar. But that is a really golden opportunity for Sheffield United. They won't get too many more like that in this game. It's still 0-0, 23 minutes gone.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Paul. The clock is ticking down just over 5 minutes before we find out exactly who is playing and who is not in the Carabao Cup final. The crowd's starting to gather inside Wembley Stadium for that one. We can't wait. It's Chelsea and it's Liverpool that will meet up in the Carabao Cup final this afternoon. Handing back the trophy today, Manchester United. They won it last year against Newcastle United by 2-0. If I remember right, did Casemiro get both of the goals? I can't remember, but they certainly won the cup. And it's a third goal for Celtic. They're now 3-1 up in that game at Motherwell. Motherwell have given their all to try and hold on to the lead, but they've got 2 late goals there, Brendan Rodgers' side, and they lead by 3-1. So let's concentrate on the Carabao Cup. In fact, let's concentrate on a team that have won the Carabao Cup quite a few times in recent years, Manchester City. They won again yesterday. It wasn't a cricket score. They only won by 1-0 in their game away at Bournemouth, but that was enough for Pep Guardiola, and he was waxing lyrical about his team after another away win.
But business must go on, and it's coming more competition, so that's why they surprise me every time. So they surprise me every time how still they are. They have an incredible character. They're so competitive, even when they are tired, they make an extra, and I love it too. In the last 10-15 minutes were really, really tough. They push it, but football is led. The people believe because we won the treble, and you have to win all the games 0-4, 0-5, and that is not the reality. Still we are surviving, and hopefully we can have soon 1 week off to give 2-3 days off and refresh our minds and our legs.
Yes, refresh your minds and your legs. Certainly got games coming thick and fast. We went through their fixtures earlier. Manchester City. The Manchester Derby next week is certainly one we will look forward to right here on Football Live. A quick recap from yesterday's games in the Premier League. Arsenal 4, Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1, Fulham 2. Manchester United losing for the 10th time in the Premier League this season. Burnley 3-0, they lost down to 10 men. Oliver Glasmer's first game in charge for Palace, and they were 3-0 victors. Aston Villa scored 4 against Forest, winning 4-2, 2 for Douglas Luiz, and as you just heard there, Pep Guardiola, his side, Manchester City, winning 1-0 away at Bournemouth. And of course, Brighton 1, Everton 1 was the other result in the Premier League. Just the one game this afternoon, and that is at Molineux. Wolverhampton Wanderers taking on Sheffield United. Let's head back, shall we, and catch up with Paul James, who's our reporter on this game. Paul, so far, from what we've heard, Sheffield United very much in the ascendancy.
Well, they've had a good few chances. I think Wolves, they've grown into the game of Sheffield United as the game has gone on. Wolves certainly started off the better team with the 2 chances they've had, but Sheffield United have also come back with a couple of chances of their own, and they've settled into the game rather well. However, at the moment, I think 0-0 is definitely the right score.
Thank you very much, Paul. We should be getting team news. We're counting down, aren't we, for the team news? So Monaco's goalkeeper has just been booked for simulation in their game in the French League this afternoon. I'll try and find out some more about that in a minute, but I've just been told, how does a goalkeeper get booked for simulation? I'm going to try and find out more, and I'll bring that to you very shortly. We'll also be bringing you some team news from Wembley very, very soon. In the meantime, let's start our build-up. We're an hour from kickoff, an hour from the Carabao Cup final. It's Chelsea against Liverpool. We're ready, but are you?
It's the day of reckoning.
Liverpool
I believe that Liverpool would have enough.
take on Chelsea.
It's a really tough one to call.
Football Live on Brilla FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
It's a cat and mouse game. Who will get their hands on the first silverware of the season?
Oh, Liverpool fans.
Oh, Liverpool fans. The Carabao Cup final, live from Wembley Stadium.
Absolutely running riot.
Right here on Football Live.
A good type of game of football.
It is a good day for a game of football. It's not just a game of football, though. It's a cup final. It's Chelsea. It's Liverpool. It's the Carabao Cup final. Wembley Stadium, under the arch. We will have team news very, very soon. In the meantime, let's hear from both camps, shall we? Cayman Gallagher is the Liverpool goalkeeper. He's been standing in recently because of an injury to Alisson. He would have probably played in the Carabao Cup final anyway. He played in the Carabao Cup final a couple of years ago when he scored from the penalty spot against Chelsea, and they won on penalties. Here he is.
Never wish an injury upon anyone. It's not nice to see or anything like that. But yeah, it gives me the opportunity to have a bit more game time. I have a bit more rhythm going into the final. You know, to be in that good rhythm and ready to go for a big game is important. So yeah, I'm kind of happy that I've been able to get a few games under my belt before the final. So far, I think I've played a lot more games this season than previous. So that's been really positive for me. So yeah, I've been happy. Obviously, just want to do well now in the next few games and the final. So yeah.
So that was the Liverpool goalkeeper, Cayman Gallagher. Let's hear from one of the Chelsea players, shall we? Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, massive. You know, I think we got some confidence now going into these games. And yeah, we just need to try and find that consistency and just keep being as prepared as we can be for each game coming up, and yeah, I think we're in a good position to do that.
We will have news of the teams from Wembley very soon, but first of all, we've got the small matter of the Premier League. One game this afternoon, no goals so far. Well, we've got one now.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And Sarabia has scored for Wolves. More bad news for Sheffield United. They've been the better side so far. They've had the better chances, but Wolves find themselves ahead. We'll cross to Paul James to hear about that goal very, very shortly. I can give you Chelsea's team news first and foremost. Ben Chilwell will skipper the side this afternoon. It's Petrovic in goal. Gusto, De Zerbi, Colwill, Chilwell the captain, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and then Gallagher, Palmer, Jackson and Sterling. On the bench, Sanchez, Bettinelli, Chalobah, G, Gilchrist, and then Madueke, Mudryk, and Nkunku is fit to take his place on the bench, as well as Torreira. So that is your Chelsea team for this afternoon. Let's head to Molineux. I'll bring you the Liverpool team in just a minute, but first of all, let's catch up with Paul James, our first goal of the afternoon, and it's gone the way of Wolves.
Yes, it certainly has. Slightly against the runner's play, it has to be said. The ball got down the left-hand side and Ryan Al-Nouri swung the cross in, and unmarked was Pablo Sarabia, who got up and headed it into the top left-hand corner. Following that goal, there was a lot of infighting in the Sheffield United defence as the inquest began. They need to calm down if they're going to get back into this game. There's 31 minutes gone. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Sheffield United 0.
Thank you very much, Paul. So it's a goal for Wolves and Sarabia, and at Molineux it's Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Sheffield United 0, and Sheffield United's hopes of staying in the Premier League just keep reducing and reducing as the weeks go by. Right, Liverpool, lots of injuries, haven't they, at the moment? And it was going to be interesting to see what the Liverpool lineup was this afternoon. Here it is. Kelleher in goal. We just heard from him. Endo, Van Dijk, Konate, Diaz, McAllister, Gakpo Elliott, Robertson, Gravenberch and the young fullback Bradley. That's your 11. Still a strong 11 for Liverpool. You know, all those injuries, but that is still a mighty fine 11 to put out on the field. Adrian, Gomez, Tsimikas, Clark, McConnell, Kumas, Dans, Kwanzaa and Naomi are the subs for Liverpool. So there's not a lot to turn to on the bench, I think it's fair to say, for Liverpool. If that one goes to extra time and penalties, they may have to rely heavily on the 11 that they've got on the pitch. But it's a decent 11. It's Liverpool against Chelsea. We've got the build-up. We'll be handing back to FJ and the team at the Briller FM studio in just a second. It's your chance to call in, have your say. And if you have the chance, we would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the Carabao Cup final this afternoon? Your thoughts on Arsenal's win yesterday? Manchester United losing for the 10th time in the Premier League this season. It all happened yesterday. It's all happening today. We'll be back in a short while, but for now, we'll hand you back to FJ and the team at Briller FM.
You are listening to Football Live, powered by NairaBet. Live and exclusive on Briller FM.
Sports Radio 88.9 Briller FM.
You are listening to Football Live, live and exclusive on Briller FM.
Take Briller anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Briller with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Briller app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Briller football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Briller FM, Briller.net, BrillerSports.tv and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Briller, BRILA. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Yes, welcome back. It was a slow-paced first hour of the show, but don't worry, we're just going to start working our way through the gears now as the games start to kick off and the build-up intensifies. Chelsea against Liverpool from the Carabao Cup final under the arch at Wembley is just under half an hour from kick-off. We'll be across to Wembley Stadium to get confirmation of the team news very, very shortly. Let's quickly bring you up to date with the games that are being played at the moment. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Sheffield United 0 is half-time. We'll be across to Paul James in a moment for an update on that game. I can tell you that Anderlecht, last time we heard, were 1-0 down away at Club Brugge in Belgium. Well, they scored 2 late goals in that game, Anderlecht, and they've won by 2-1. Nilsson and Gula with the winner in the 91st minute. It's now Cadiz 0, Celta Vigo 2 in Spain. Willart Swedberg, the Swede, has scored a second early in the second half for Celta Vigo. And FC 20 in the Eredivisie in the Netherlands are beating Go Ahead Eagles at half-time by 2-0. Right, let's get straight across, shall we, to Molineux. The half-time break is upon us. In fact, we'll just hold back a second from going to Molineux because I can tell you there has been a goal in one of our featured games this afternoon.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And I can tell you there has been a goal in the game between Cagliari and Napoli, and it's gone to Cagliari. They have taken the lead in that game. So Cagliari leading at the Unipol Domus. We'll be across to Andrew Bonacore to hear all about that right now. In fact, let's get across to Andrew. Andrew, an opening goal, and it's not gone the way of Victor Osherman's team, has it?
No, absolutely not. And I think I had a conversation with you at the end of last year, Barry, and talked about how Napoli's defence had really fallen off a cliff, and unfortunately the goal is an own goal from one of the major culprits so far this season, but one of the star players from last season. It's Amir Rahmani who's put through his own net. There is, I've got to say, a check for VAR for a possible offside, but Napoli have really been under pressure. They've been struggling to deal with the ball being played to the far post, and Lapadula who put Rahmani under pressure for the goal, has had a couple of attempts on goal, and they seem to be just sneaking in at the far post and causing Napoli problems that way. But yeah, it's really been surprising just how far on top Cagliari have been so far. No news on that VAR check, but as it stands, unless the goal is chalked off, it's going to be Cagliari 1, Napoli 0, and quite a shock for the Neapolitans. But to be honest, Barry, they don't deserve anything so far from this game. They've really not been at all impressive going forward.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
A goal in one of our featured matches, a goal in another one of our featured matches. It's in the Bundesliga. Eintracht Frankfurt 0, Wolfsburg 1. It's a goal that came inside the opening 5 minutes in that game. There is a VAR check, so we'll wait and see what happens there. In fact, I'll tell you what, no, let's get across. It seems that the goal has been given. Mark Thomas is watching this one. It's Eintracht Frankfurt against Wolfsburg at the Duschbank Park. Mark Thomas is watching for Football Live. Only a couple of minutes in, but already a goal, Mark.
Yes, a flying start for Wolfsburg. They're in full flight straight away. What happened? We had a corner. It was put into the box, and it came out to Arnold. He hit it from about 25 yards out, deflected out, and the ball went back in. And Lacroix, he sort of snuck in at the back post. Nobody saw him coming in, and he headed it in to the net, deflected from the goalkeeper high into the roof of the net for his 4th goal of the season. A flying start for Wolfsburg. Let's see what Frankfurt have now. They're going to have to get back in this game early. After 4 minutes, Barry, it is 1-0 to Wolfsburg.
Napoli fans, Victor Osimhen fans, you can breathe a sigh of relief because VAR, after a long check, has disallowed that Cagliari goal, and it is back to 0-0 in that game. And let's go across actually to Andrew Bonacore, who can perhaps bring us up to date. So that goal, Andrew, was ruled out in the end.
It was ruled out by VAR. It was an interesting one, Barry. You don't often see the referee called to have a look at the screen for an offside ruling, but what the referee had to decide whether Lapadula was interfering with play. He was certainly offside, and you've got to say I think Napoli have got away with this one a little bit. He ran across the Napoli defender Rahmani. I don't think he had any effect on the fact that Rahmani deflected the ball past his own keeper, but he was in an offside position, and the referee went to the screen to have a look, and he decided that Lapadula, the Cagliari striker, did in fact have some kind of effect on the Napoli defender Rahmani. But as I say, Napoli slightly getting away with that one. They don't necessarily deserve to be a goal behind, but they've done nothing going forward so far to try and impact the scoreline. Osimhen was involved in a bit of a tussle earlier on with Everton, former Everton man Yerry Mina, but he's not had a sniff of anything in the box. Just a drive from 25 yards out from Raspadori is all that Napoli have had so far. So after 40 minutes, it's still Cagliari 0, Napoli 0.
Let's get across to Molineux, shall we? An update from the game between Wolves and Sheffield United since we were last across to Paul James. The half-time whistle has blown and the second half is now underway. Paul, bring us back up to date with where we left you.
Yeah, well, just towards the end of the first half, Sheffield United had a couple of chances. Certainly, Ryan Brewster has been their best player. He got into the penalty area and forced a save out of Jose Sarr. And James McAtee has also had an additional chance as well. However, the second half, Sheffield United have started a lot better, and they just haven't. It's just a final ball with them right now. They're not able to locate the right man in the middle. But it's a promising start to the second half. It's Wolves 1, Sheffield United 0.
Excellent, thank you very much for that. Still 1-0 in that game, still 1-0 in Germany. That second-minute goal from Maxence Lacroix giving Wolfsburg the lead away at Frankfurt. Let's get across for the first time this afternoon, shall we, to Wembley Stadium. This is the one that we're all waiting for. It's Chelsea against Liverpool. It's the Carabao Cup final. For the first time this afternoon, it's a very good afternoon to Johnny Holmes of Football Live. Good afternoon, Johnny. Can you bring us bang up to date with the team news? I quickly run through it earlier, but for the listeners, I'm sure they'd want to hear it. A little bit more detail from yourself.
Yes, thank you, Barry. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Cup Final Day. Some dismiss this competition, but there is no doubt that both sides would love to get their hands on the first available piece of major domestic silverware this season. That is, of course, the Carabao Cup. Liverpool's win over Chelsea in 2022 meant they regained the record for most EFL Cup wins with 9. But they're going to have to do it the hard way today. Mo Salah and Darwin Núñez miss out alongside Diogo Jota. They all miss out on the matchday squad. Liverpool's 11, Kelleher in goal, Bradley, Konate, Captain Van Dijk and Robertson in defence. Gravenberch, McAllister, Endo and Elliot Gakpo Diaz up top. Chelsea, on the other hand, are 5-time winners, last lifting the trophy by beating Spurs 2-0 in 2015. Chelsea's current boss, Mauricio Pochettino, he was the losing manager that day, but he has shown intent today with a strong starting lineup. Chelsea's 11, Petrovic in goal, Gusto, Disasi, Colwill and Chilwell in defence. Caicedo, Fernandes, Gallagher in midfield, with Palmer, Jackson and Sterling up top. Will Poch get his Chelsea stint firing? Will Klopp end his Liverpool career with at least one trophy? We will find out very soon, Barry.
Yes, indeed we will. Thank you very much, Johnny. Johnny, I'll be back to you in just a few minutes' time. We'll have a chat before kick-off, but now is probably as good a time as any to hear from the managers. Well, I say the managers. It was Pep who's been in charge of Liverpool this week. Pep Lijnders, well, he's been in charge of the press conference for this Cup final. He's popped along and left Jurgen Klopp to put his feet up, and the Liverpool assistant manager was quick to address the injury situation on a positive note.
I think the good thing we always did in the past is that we look to what we have. It's also good in life, no? To just accept what you have and don't look what you don't have. So that's what we're trying to do. It brought us success in the past. Every disadvantage has its advantage. So with a few injuries, you get young players. You get players who didn't play 5 games in a row, but they can show up now. So that's really cool. And as this season is a season where we created already 3 or 4 new teams in one season, what didn't happen a lot in the last year. So it's cool. It's a compliment for our squad. It's a compliment for the academy. And now you want to hear the injuries now.
Yeah, very interesting. Just looking at that lineup, Endo into the starting lineup. They're looking at Gakpo. They're looking at Diaz to fire the ammunition this evening or this afternoon at Wembley Stadium. It's a massive loss. No Mo Salah, no Jota either. Some big names missing for Liverpool this afternoon. Still a strong 11, not much on the bench for Liverpool. This will be very interesting indeed. Something of a leveller. Let's hear from the Chelsea manager, shall we? Here's Poch.
I think it means a lot for us, like a coaching staff, to have the possibility to arrive on the final and to challenge a team like Liverpool to win our first title here after 11 years when we arrived in Southampton. And I think it's a dream for us, like a coaching staff, and of course we have the possibility. We have 90 minutes to achieve that, and yes, we are going to fight. I think the team is ready. We are going to be very competitive, and it's an amazing chance for us.
That's Mauricio Pochettino, the Chelsea manager, ahead of the game that kicks off in just a few minutes' time. Monaco had their goalkeeper booked earlier, I told you, for simulation. Never heard of that before. Apparently he went down in his own penalty area facing a corner. I wondered if he was actually attacking and went down in the opposite penalty area trying to chase a late equaliser, but that wasn't the case at all. So we got to the bottom of that particular one. Okay, let's hear from the Chelsea goalkeeper, shall we? Đure Petrovic is keeping goal at the moment for Chelsea. He may well have had a busier afternoon if the likes of Salah and co were fit. He may still have a busy afternoon. He may have a big impact in this cup final. Let's hear from him. Đure Petrovic.
This game is very important for confidence, and 2 games before this one against the Palace and against the Aston Villa. And yeah, we have now the couple games where we play very well, and that is very important for confidence and very important before a final and the rest of the season.
Let's get across to the game in the Bundesliga that we're covering this afternoon quickly for news of a chance for Frankfurt, a half chance, Mark Thomas.
Yes, it was a breakaway for them. They passed the ball very quickly across the halfway line, and it was Marmouche that had a shot from the right-hand side on that breakaway. Bright start for both teams here, Barry. Butas looked very dangerous going down the right-hand side for Wolfsburg, but the Frankfurt passing game, it looks as if it's kicking in now, and they're sort of stepping it up a gear, and I'm sure they're going to be going at it for this equalizing goal. We've got 13 minutes gone here, Barry. It is Frankfurt 0, Frankfurt 0, Wolfsburg 1.
Thank you very much for that. We'll be across in just a few moments' time to get an update on the match at Molineux. Another chance for Sheffield United, but not before I tell you about a goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
I can tell you that Philippe Max has just scored an equaliser. The game we've just visited, Eintracht Frankfurt 1. Wolfsburg won. 2 early goals in that game for Mark Thomas to tell us about. We'll be back to him in just a few minutes' time. Let's get across to Molineux and hear about that chance for Sheffield United to bag an equaliser. Paul James.
Yes, well, what an opportunity. James McAtee just managed to turn Max Kilman inside out and struck the shot. And Jose Sarr was scrambling. He wasn't getting there. It was the wrong side of the post, and just before you joined me, a penalty appeal for Wolves for a handball in the area by Vinicius Souza. It looked a pretty clear case to me, but it's not even being reviewed by VAR. So still 1-0 with 56 minutes gone.
Let's get straight across to Germany, shall we? And the Deutsche Bank Park. Mark Thomas can tell us about that equalising goal for Eintracht Frankfurt.
Yes, well, I told you the passing game was coming together for them, and they did just that. They passed it calmly out from their own half. Akite had a wonderful run down the left-hand side. He threaded the ball through to Max, who hit it first time, low and into the corner. It's the comeback that we expected. They've been looking very bright, Frankfurt, and it's 1-1 after 15 minutes here, and it's a very lively encounter, so hold tight. I think we could be in for a lot of goals today.
I like the sound of that. Hold tight. We could be in for a lot of goals today. Let's hope that that does reflect to the match that we've got coming up from Wembley Stadium this afternoon. It's the Carabao Cup final, the EFL Cup final, the League Cup final, whatever you want to call it. You can call it the Milk Cup final. That's what it used to be called in the early 80s. Call it absolutely whatever you want. The Rumbelows Cup, the Littlewoods Cup. It's had so many names down the years, but what I can promise you is it will be a cracker this afternoon, and there will need to be a winner. It's Chelsea against Liverpool. We're 15 minutes from kickoff. Let's hear again from the Liverpool assistant manager, Pep Lijnders, who was full of compliments for Chelsea when he spoke to the media this week.
A good final only starts with really respecting and acknowledging their strengths and where to start. Caicedo, Enzo in the middle, really making the game. Enzo is the one, if you let him free, he can play passes everywhere. I think the instability in the beginning of the season, a lot happened there, a lot. So how can you expect them to perform straight away? They are growing. I think the manager is doing an unbelievable job. Coaching staff as well, both of it. And I think he finally finds his 11, and then you have like one of the best signings, I think, this year in the Premier League is Palmer, taking him from a rival, a young player, and performing like that. So, and then you have Gallagher, of course, who like proper number 10 from the academy, wearing the armband, and he's proper leader, I think. And but he is somebody who's a 10, but gets his shirt dirty as well. So if you let them play and let them fight the players between the lines with Palmer and Gallagher there, who have a lot of technique, and that will be really hard. Enzo dropping. So what I'm trying to say is that we will need our full toolbox to defend them. And a good game, that's why I want to start. A good game, a final always starts with respecting the strengths of the opposition and defend it with all we have. And that's what we're going to prepare.
Yes, indeed. That was Pep Lijnders, not Pep Guardiola. Pep Lijnders, he's the assistant manager of Liverpool, who stood in for Jurgen Klopp at the press conference ahead of the Carabao Cup final, which is just over 10 minutes away. Let's get some odds, shall we, on the big match and hook up with John Kane. Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from NairaBet.
Yes, all the latest odds from NairaBet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. Let's start quickly with the game that are happening live at the moment. In Italian Serie A, it's still 0-0 between Cagliari and Napoli. Cagliari at home have just gone down to 4.50. The draw is 2.62, and away win for Napoli is 2.20. The Dutch Eredivisie, Almere City are still 0-0 with Feyenoord. Feyenoord scored a goal in the first half, which was disallowed. Hence, Feyenoord are the furthest still, are 1.73 to win away. The draw is 2.75, and a home win for Almere City is 8.50. Wolves against Sheffield United is still 1-0 to Wolves. Wolves are more or less suspended. They are 1.17 for the win. The draw is 6.50. Away win for Sheffield United is 23.0. If you just look at inside that game quickly, if you think it's going to be over 2.5 goals in this game, the Wolverhampton Sheffield United is 2.60, and if you think it's going to be over 1.5 goals, just one more goal, is 1.36, so it's not really worth it at this stage. Right, okay, some of the other games that are happening. Cadiz against Celta Vigo, 2 minutes to go. Cadiz are losing at home by 2-1. However, if you fancy Cadiz to get a draw, they are 6.50, and if you think Cadiz will turn it around, they are 41.0. Now, let's talk about the big game. Chelsea against Liverpool in the League Cup final, or the Milk Cup final, as Barry mentioned it. Every time I mention the Milk Cup final, I remember Luton Town, because they won it in the 80s. That's how old I am. Anyway, to win the game in 90 minutes, this is only 90 minutes, Chelsea are 2.80. Liverpool to win it in 90 minutes, they are 2.38, and the draw in 90 minutes is 3.60. If you mention the goals, if you think it's going to be over 2.5 goals, it's 1.57. If you think it's going to be over 3.5 goals, it's 2.35. And finally, as we know, a couple of seasons ago, both teams have met in 2 finals, haven't they, in the same season? And both games finished 0-0 at normal time. Of course, Liverpool went to win it in penalties. Now, if you think it's going to be 0-0 again, the odds on that is 10.0. So if you got an omen on that it might happen for the 3rd time between 2 teams in 3 seasons, the draw for 0-0 is 10.0. Of course, all these prices are from NairaBet, and they're all subject to change.
Thank you very much, John. Let's quickly get to the 2 games that are being played at the moment. Wolves against Sheffield United. A quick update from Paul James.
Yes, really good chance for Sheffield United. Quick cross in from James McAtee. It's Ryan Brewster on the back post with a volley, but a smart save by Jose Sarr. It's still Wolves 1, Sheffield United 0.
Thank you very much. And off to Andrew Bonacore, who's keeping a close eye on Unipol Dumas Stadium. Cagliari against Napoli. Half-time whistle is blown. No goals, Andrew.
No, it's Cagliari 0, Napoli 0. Cagliari thought they'd gone ahead on 32 when Rachmani glanced a free kick into his own net, but Lampadula was adjudged to have been offside going for it. It's been a frustrating 45 for Napoli, but they need to find a way to impact this game, and Osimhen has been very, very quiet at the break. It's Cagliari 0, Napoli 0.
Less than 10 minutes to kick off at Wembley Stadium. Underneath the arch, it's the blue of Chelsea, it's the red of Liverpool. Those 2 halves of the stadium in contrasting colours. It will be an epic final, and it's just under 10 minutes away. But don't worry, we're going there right now, and we're going to join forces with Johnny, our reporter this afternoon, Johnny Holmes. Good afternoon once again, Johnny. Looking at that Liverpool team, and I think the thing that struck me, regardless of the names that are out, and there's plenty of them, Nunez, Salah, Jota, that front 3 and alone is a massive blow. 2 teams in the tunnel, by the way. It's a strong 11 that Liverpool got out there, but this is a game that twice at Wembley in the last 2 years in a cup final has gone to extra time and penalties, and that could be telling given that bench that Liverpool have got today. So inexperienced, isn't it?
You really could, Barry. It feels like you've been looking at my notes, to be honest. That's exactly what I was going to mention. It feels like the longer this game goes on, possibly into extra time, possibly all the way, all the distance to penalties, that might suit Chelsea due to Liverpool's comparatively weaker bench with so many players out. We mentioned Salah, Nunes, Jota. There's not too much on the bench for Liverpool, and there are reasons for Chelsea to be optimistic. They played well against Manchester City recently. I thought they were wasteful in the final third, but if they can find that finishing product, Chelsea really do have a chance in this game. And there's also the managerial duel. Poch, at the beginning of his tenure, needs to kick-start his time at Chelsea. Klopp at the end. Will that emotional romanticism play a part for Liverpool's players and get them firing? Who knows? It really could go either way.
Yeah, the two managers leading out the teams this afternoon, Johnny, as well. Interesting fashion statement. In the old Cup finals, when the tunnel at Wembley used to be behind the goal, and the two managers led their teams out and everyone was suited and booted. Pochettino's got a black overcoat on with a polo shirt underneath. Jurgen Klopp's gone to no expense spared with some leggings and a brand new set of trainers. But really looking forward to these two pitting their wits against one another, and the atmosphere always is. I was at the last two. I'm not there today, obviously, but I was there for the Cup finals 2 years ago, both of those that went to penalties. I was there working on those, on the media on those two games, and the atmosphere is always great when these two come together, and it will be the same again this afternoon, won't it?
It absolutely will, and I feel like Liverpool in particular, they're going to need that 12th man. We often mention it. The crowd can carry and fire the players toward victory, and with Liverpool's injury list, that growing injury list, they might need a 12th man more than Chelsea do. But that being said, Chelsea needs something this season. They've been stuttering at times. It's not been a great last few years for the blue side, so Pochettino will want his supporters, his side, to try and kick on and really get behind those players. So that's why it's so fascinating. Both teams so much to fight for so many different reasons. Emotional for Liverpool, who are also of course in a title race, and for Chelsea, they need to find something to kickstart their season. So both sides are gonna want to win this game.
Yeah, the guest of honour, Rick Parry, is just being presented to the Liverpool players ahead of kick-off, and we will be back with Johnny throughout the game this afternoon. It's a big one. It's the Carabao Cup final. It's at Wembley Stadium. It's Chelsea and Liverpool, and we'll be back as the game kicks off in the next couple of minutes. Let's get back to our game in the Premier League. They overlap this afternoon, don't they? Wolves against Sheffield United and Chelsea against Liverpool. So let's get back midway point in the second half, and a chance for Wolves, Paul James, to put this one to bed.
Yeah, Pablo Sarabia picks up the ball on the edge of the penalty area. He curls the shot toward the goalkeeper's right-hand side. Grigbic was scrambling, but was not able to get there. It just goes the wrong side of the post, so it's still Wolves 1, Sheffield United 0.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Germany, shall we? To Frankfurt, to be absolutely specific. Mark Thomas is keeping his beady eyes open for early goals, and he's had 2 of them already. Only 26 minutes gone. Still Frankfurt 1, Wolfsburg 1, but Mark, a chance for the home side.
Yes, a chance for both teams, actually. It's a beautiful play from Frankfurt. A whipped-in cross, beautifully flighted and weighted whipped-in cross from Tuta on the right-hand side. Half volley, Ekitike came rushing in, completely unmarked. Half volley that flew over the crossbar. The ball went down the other end, and Gerhard got in on the breakaway. He got in behind the defense and put off a powerful shot from the right-hand side. Saved by Trapping goal. He's had a busy day today so far. I told you there'd be more goals, and I guarantee that there will be some more goals. This game is very, very entertaining. It's still 1-1.
Usually our reporters get it right, and that hopefully will be the case with that game at Frankfurt this afternoon. 1-1, but goals hopefully plenty this afternoon. We're hoping for goals aplenty at Wembley. There's a shake of hands between the two sets of players. They've just stood and observed the national anthem of England, and I'm just quickly counting through the two lineups, and I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I make it not even it's 5 5 of the 22 players starting are actually English, so not a lot of sentimental value for the other 17. But it's kick-off is just 1 or 2 minutes away, and we can't wait to get going. We've just heard from the Bundesliga. We've just heard from Frankfurt. Frankfurt won, Wolfsburg won. Yesterday, there was late drama in the Bundesliga. Harry Kane striking twice as Bayern Munich put themselves back in the title race with a late dramatic winner against Leipzig at the Allianz Arena. 2 goals for Harry Kane. Here he is speaking after that game.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good performance from us. I felt like we started strong in the first half. Definitely should have been a goal or two up. We had some decent chances there. And then second half, it was back and forth. You know, we got the goal and then we kind of was a little bit passive and let them back into the game. But, you know, we're playing against a really good side. So we showed a good character to then go again and then get the second goal. And obviously, you know, 3 points are really important after the week we had. Yeah, that's football, that's life. You know, you're not gonna score them all. You know, I've always said as a striker, I'm more worried when I'm not getting the chances than when I'm getting them and missing them. That's just part of the game. You know, that's why I work hard to try and miss as little as possible. But it's going to happen now and then. But for me, you know, it was about showing a reaction. You know, it's been a difficult moment for all of us, the players, the club, the manager, and today at home, you know, we showed the right reaction. So hopefully it can be a building block. We've got a lot of important games still to play, and yeah, hopefully we can build on this.
That was Harry Kane speaking after his 2 goals yesterday in the 2-1 victory in the Bundesliga for Bayern Munich against RB Leipzig. Let's take a quick break, shall we? And we'll be back in a couple of minutes, all ready and raring to go for kickoff at Wembley Stadium. Chelsea against Liverpool. Don't go away. You're listening to Football Live.
From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
Join on the corner where the big boys play.
Get involved in NairaBet's Super Sunday Special and net yourself a free bet. Chelsea take on Liverpool at Wembley Stadium in the EFL Cup final, and we are giving away a 100% match free bet up to €500. Whether you back Pochettino's Blues or Klopp's Reds, you will still be eligible for a free bet regardless of who wins. All you need to do is log in to www.nairabet.com. Bet on Chelsea versus Liverpool. Receive your free bet to use on any sport or virtuals. To qualify, just place a bet on either the pre-match markets or in play. Full details can be found on our promotions page. You must be over the age of 18, minimum odds of 1.5, must be a real money bet. Cash out bets do not qualify. General and free bet terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Absolute screamer.
Bang it form into dreamland.
Oh my God, they were crying. What was he doing in the box?
Check my phone, mate. He's not in there.
He looks thoroughly disgusted.
They've been absolutely brilliant. That's proper.
So much to tell you about.
So much going on.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
In the Premier League, you just never know.
You are listening to Football Live on Brilla FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM. Coming up next Saturday, Premier League action, including Brentford
It's that man I that told me.
against Chelsea,
Simple play by Chelsea. 1, 2, 3, hit that.
Tottenham Hotspur
Heung-min Son does it once again.
take on Crystal Palace.
There's no stopping Kabir when he's in his mood. Here we go again.
Join us again next weekend on Football Live. Around the grounds, chasing the goals.
You are listening to Football Live.
Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
A good type of game of football.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
In the Spanish La Liga, Celta Vigo were 2-0 up at half-time, but Cadiz have come back and equalised in the 100th minute through Darwin Machis to take what looks like a point in that game. Darwin Machis, the Venezuela international, over 40 caps for Venezuela, has gone and equalised with virtually one of the last kicks of the game. Trabzonspor have beaten Adana Demirspor in Turkey by 1-0 to keep up the pressure in the Turkish Super League up the top. They're currently third, well off the pace for the title, but they'll be hoping that they can qualify for the Champions League next season, and those 3 points won't do any harm at all to that motive. Let's quickly go to our game in the game at Molineux in the Premier League. The one Premier League game being played today. 15 minutes to go, and there's been a couple of yellow cards being shown in the game between Wolves and Sheffield United. Paul James.
Yes, Nelson Semedo made a challenge on Ryan Brewster and brought him down. He was the last man, however, he was right down the left-hand side. There was a melee between the two teams, and Nelson Semedo got booked for the challenge, and Anel Ahmedhodžić got booked for speaking to the referee in a bad way. So, still 1-0 here.
Thank you very much, Paul. Let's get to Wembley, shall we, for the first time since kick-off. Played a couple of minutes in the game between Chelsea and Liverpool. Let's get across to Johnny Holmes, who's watching this one for us. Early doors, just feeling their way into the game, the two sets of players. Who would you say is on top after 2.5 minutes, Johnny?
It's been fairly cagey early on, only 2 minutes played, as you say, Barry. Liverpool having the majority of possession. Chelsea, a couple of misplaced passes. They've just given the ball away for a throw-in. So maybe a few nerves early on here, just settling into the game. It's the big occasion, the first major final of the season. So you wouldn't begrudge a couple of nerves out there. Chelsea will be hoping they settle. But it's Liverpool with the majority of the ball early doors here at Wembley. 0-0, 3 minutes played.
Johnny, just looking at the stadium there, when they played in the Carabao Cup 2 years ago, Liverpool had the west end of the stadium, Chelsea had the east end of the stadium, and Liverpool came out on top. Same for the Cup final, Liverpool had the west end of the stadium, Chelsea the east end of the stadium, Liverpool came out on top, both on penalties. Today, Chelsea have got the west end of the stadium. Is that lucky end when these two come together? If it is, and Chelsea fans listening in will be rubbing their hands thinking, lucky omen maybe.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, anything you can latch onto pre-game, you're hoping that it makes a difference. But I suppose it comes down to the ability of the two 11s here today. And actually, on paper, and football, as we know, is not played on paper, but looking at that Liverpool bench, a few weaknesses, a few big names missing out, the Jota, the Nunes, the Salahs of this world. Chelsea will be licking their lips and hoping that as the games go on, they won't have to rely on any omens and they can get this job done through sheer fire power. 0-0, 3 minutes played.
Yeah, thank you very much. And, Alexander-Arnold, Alisson, the list just goes on. The Liverpool injuries that they've got at the moment are crippling, but, we've got big squads now in the Premier League, and these big teams like Liverpool, more so than ever. There's been another goal in the Bundesliga.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And I can tell you, Wolfsburg are back in front at the Douchebank Park, and we'll be across in just a few moments to hear from Mark Thomas about that goal. So Wolfsburg 2-1 up at Frankfurt. It's a game in which Mark keeps saying to us, I promise you there's going to be more goals. I promise you there's going to be more goals. And he's a man to his word, because there's been another goal. Behrens has scored in that game, and it's 2-1 to Wolfsburg. We'll be turning our attentions also to our featured game in La Liga in Spain this afternoon. Real Betis against Athletic Bilbao, who are pushing for a place in next season's Champions League. They're having a really good season. They're in the semi-final of the Copa del Rey. They'll be playing Atletico Madrid on Thursday in the second leg at home, having won the first leg away 1-0. So they're in line for some silverware potentially too. Let's get across to David Doyle, who's going to be watching this match between Real Betis and Athletic Bilbao at the Estadio Benito Villamarin. And David, good afternoon to you. I understand you can bring us a little bit of team news.
Yeah, good afternoon, Barry. Well, the Estadio Benito Villamarin will play host to an intriguing La Liga matchup this afternoon as Real Betis welcome Athletic Bilbao. The home side are currently 7th in the La Liga table, 1 point behind 6th place Real Sociedad, while Athletic Bilbao sit 5th, 2 points behind 4th place Atletico Madrid. As for today's team news, Manuel Pellegrini has made 6 changes to his Betis side that lined out against Dynamo Zagreb during the week, as Jermaine Perzella, Yusuf Sabali, Sergi Altimira, Ezekiel Avila, Pablo Fornals and Willian Jose came into the side. As for the visitors, Bilbao, just 2 changes from their lineup that bet Corona last Monday, with Yere Alvarez and Oyan Sanchez coming into the starting 11. Kickoff at the Estadio Benito Villamarin is approaching in the next 5 or so minutes, Barry.
Thank you very much for that, David Doyle. I'll be watching Real Betis against Athletic Bilbao. Looking forward to that one this afternoon. That's in La Liga in Spain. So we've got matches in Germany, in the Dutch Eredivisie, in La Liga, in Serie A, which is currently 0-0 between Cagliari and Napoli. And we'll have a flying visit to Andrew Bonacore in a minute to bring us bang up to date to see if Victor Osimhen is coming any closer to getting a goal, a much needed goal. Let's get across to the Bundesliga, where we've had plenty of goals in the opening 36 minutes. And well, party to all of these goals is Mark Thomas. And Mark, Wolfsburg back in front, and VAR have given it the thumbs up. The goal counts.
Yes, they are, and they're good value for it, Barry. This is a terrific game of football today, very evenly fought, both teams going for it. We had a free kick midway into the Frankfurt half, and it went down the left-hand side. It finally worked its way out to Paredes. Now, he did a beautiful chip with the outside of his right foot. It was absolutely glorious. And in came charging Kevin Behrens, ended his 186-day goal drought and headed it into the right-hand corner. We got a terrific game. I still think there's more goals on the way. 37 minutes gone. It is Frankfurt 1, Wolfsburg 2.
Thank you very much for that. So he's stashing up all the goals this afternoon, isn't he, our Mark Thomas? He's stolen them all from the stock cupboard, and he's used them unsparingly in the first half. 3 goals in just over half an hour, so good for him. Let's get across to our featured game in Italy. Andrew Bonacore. Osimhen to score the first goal, 5.25 with Naira Bet subject to change as always. Is he looking like he could be ready to score the opening goal in this game that sadly needs a goal, doesn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. In all honesty, Barry, he hasn't had a chance to show whether he's looking sharp or looking fit, because Napoli going forward are just really struggling to break Cagliari down. Cagliari are absorbing Napoli's pressure, and then they're breaking themselves to great effect. Lapadula has had 2 good chances already in the second half. So if you were looking at these 2 teams and you had to guess which one kind of lit Serie A alight last season, you would never say it was Napoli, because they look slow, they look a bit more ponderous. They're just struggling to kind of play that zippy passing play in midfield and get the ball forward to the likes of Osimhen. And when Osimhen does get the ball, he's surrounded by players, and he doesn't have 30-40 yards to run into like he did last season. He's basically picking up the ball on the edge of the box. He's only got 18 yards to run into and to work with. So he's struggling to find any space, and his Napoli teammates are struggling to get the ball to him. If I had to put money on, I'd be looking at Cagliari to get the first goal, to be honest, because they are having the better attacks and getting the ball down the flanks easily, getting it into the centre, and even having chances on goal in the penalty box. So even though it's still 0-0, I think we've got at least 1 goal in this game. 6 minutes gone in the second half, and it's still Cagliari 0, Napoli 0.
Thank you, Andrew. Let's get back to Wembley Stadium. A chance for Liverpool, Johnny Holmes.
Yeah, a half chance for Luis Diaz. The ball whipped in by Ryan Gravenberch deep towards the back post. Luis Diaz can't quite get above it. It's off the top of his head, and it loops up and into the forgiving hands of Petrovic. And the challenges have been flying in for Chelsea, really jumping into these tackles. A couple of free kicks given away on the edge of the box. They've come to nothing so far, but you can't keep giving these away. It's all Liverpool at the moment, and it looks like, much like they did against Manchester City, Chelsea want to hit them on the break. 0-0, 10 minutes played.
Thank you very much, Johnny. We'll be back with Johnny in just a few moments' time. We'll keep you bang up to date with the Carabao Cup final under the arch at Wembley. Chelsea 0, Liverpool 0, 11 minutes gone in that game. There's not too many minutes remaining in the game between Wolves and Sheffield United. That's being played at Molineux. And watching this one for us is Paul James. Triple substitution for the bottom side, Sheffield United.
Yeah, that's right, and a substitution by Wolves as well. Ryan Ant-Nouri is off, Tommy Doyle is on. The triple substitution for Sheffield United, Tom Davis, Oliver McBurney and William Osula have come on for Oliver Norwood, Vinicius Souza and, rather surprisingly, Ryan Brewster. But it's still Wolves 1, Sheffield United 0, 7 minutes to go.
Thank you very much, Paul. I can tell you that, Wolves Sheffield United over 1.5 goals is now 2.60. And considering there's, 6 minutes to go plus injury time, time is running out. Diaz to score the first goal at Wembley Stadium. John Kane has just flagged it under my nose. 8.0 with Naira about subject to change. Diaz to score the first goal. There has been a yellow card at Frankfurt. To tell us about that one, Mark Thomas.
Yes, we just had a yellow card here for Etike. He's a silly boy, really, and needless yellow card to get. He was just doing some afters, and a free kick was taking place for Frankfurt. So kind of a needless thing there. Wolfsburg, incidentally, have a very good record playing in Frankfurt. They've only lost one of the last 4 matches here. So they'll be thinking about that stat as they lead here 2-1. 42 minutes gone, halftime approaching. It is, as I said, Frankfurt 1, Wolfsburg 2.
And if you want to have a flutter on Frankfurt, that's a tough one, isn't it? A flutter on Frankfurt, it's 6.0 for the Frankfurt win. Remember, they are behind. And, at Wembley Stadium, Chelsea have had their first chance of the game. To tell us about it, here's Johnny Holmes.
Yeah, they have. And in the last game against Manchester City for Chelsea, the problem really was decision-making in the final third. And it struck again here as Cole Palmer does really well. He's driving forward at the defence of Liverpool. And what he's tried to do is slide it through to Nicholas Jackson, who was sort of half-heartedly making a run towards the near post. Maybe not the best decision-making from Palmer. It didn't come across for him. Goes out for a corner, which comes to nothing. Still 0-0 here after 13 minutes.
Thank you very much for that, Johnny. Palmer to score the first goal with Naira 6.50. 6.50 with Naira, subject to change for Cole Palmer to score the opening goal in that cup final this afternoon. Toulouse have equalised against Lille in the French League on this afternoon. It's 13th against 4th in that game. Lille just 1 point off of the top 3, so that's a bit of a kick in the teeth, conceding a goal against Toulouse. Lille have lost their last 2 away. I know it was against Lyon and Paris Saint-Germain. And Feyenoord have taken the lead in their game in the Eredivisie. They're second in the table, the champions. Yankuba Minta has got that goal 18 minutes from time. The 19-year-old Gambia international has scored and given Feyenoord the lead. Almere City 0, Feyenoord 1 in that game. So let's just bring you bang up to date with where we are this afternoon on Football Live. Wolves 1, Sheffield United 0. Sheffield United on their way to yet another defeat in the Premier League. Around about 3 minutes to go in that game. Cagliari 0, Napoli 0. Just coming up to the hour mark in that game. Still waiting for the first goal in that game. Still waiting for the first goal. Chelsea against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final at Wembley Stadium. Over 0.5 goals, that's over 0.5 goals for Liverpool in the first half is 2.20. Over 0.5 goals in the first half for Chelsea is 2.20 as well. So 2.50. Those odds are subject to change. Carrying on where we left off in the Bundesliga, half-time injury time, 4 minutes of injury time. It's just been announced in the game between Eintracht Frankfurt and Wolfsburg. 2-1 there to Wolfsburg, and we'll keep across that one with Mark Thomas throughout the afternoon. We've got Betis against Atletico Madrid. Athletic Bilbao, I do beg your pardon, coming up in Spain. And we've got a feature game in the Eredivisie. AZ Alkmaar against Ajax is coming up soon. We should have some team news for that very shortly as well. So that's where we're at. Still 0-0 at Wembley Stadium. 16 minutes gone. Let's get across again to our reporter at that game. Of course, it's Johnny Holmes. Johnny, any signs of a breakthrough? Both sides have had their moments, haven't they?
They have indeed. A big chance for Liverpool just gone. Nearly a disaster, if you'll forgive the pun, as he slips just outside his own box. It's a hounding Gegenpress from Liverpool, and they win it back. It's whipped in. Luis Diaz with the shot, low and powerful. Petrovic gets down really well to palm it away. Diaz could and maybe should have done better. That could and maybe should have been the opening goal. Liverpool swarming, pressing all over the Chelsea defence as they try and pass out. It's not working so far. Will Pochettino change tactic here? Still 0-0 after 16 minutes.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Betis against Bilbao, our feature game in Spain, has just kicked off. We'll be right across that one with David Doyle throughout the afternoon as well. And, well, it's been a very interesting weekend so far. One team that don't play this weekend are Luton Town, because they had their game dragged forward to last Wednesday. Liverpool away was due to be their game this weekend. They got it out of the way on Wednesday. At half-time, they were leading by 1-0. They ended up losing the game 4-1. Liverpool cranking up the pressure in the second half, scoring 4 without reply. The Hatters manager, Rob Edwards, was full of praise for Liverpool after that game.
You know, we saw Liverpool, saw that full-throttle football. Their counter-pressing was incredible, suffocated us. Fans were amazing, and it was probably difficult for the players to really concentrate and play like we had done in the first half. In the end, I think it'd be great learning for us to see what the best looks like. I know they had some players missing today, but I thought their performance in the second half was almost like they had the best team out there anyway, you know, with the intensity they played at and with the speed that they played at. Played a little bit into their hands, made some mistakes in the second half, but we'll learn from it, dust ourselves down and hopefully get better from it. But lots to like. I thought we were very, very good. They were better.
So there you go. That was the Luton manager, Rob Edwards, full of praise for Liverpool and their performance in midweek. Here's a name that you probably recognise from his days at Tottenham Hotspur. Toby Alderweireld has just scored for KAA Ghent in the Belgian Pro League. They've taken the lead in their game this afternoon against Antwerp. It's Ghent 1, Antwerp 0 in that game, and it's Toby Alderweireld with the a goal in the game to give them the lead. Let's get around the ground, shall we? 5 minutes of added time in the game between Wolves and Sheffield United. Any sign, Paul James, of a late Sheffield United comeback?
Well, they've had a chance. The cross came in from McAtee, and on the back post was Austin Trusty, but he didn't anticipate the ball coming across, and he completely missed it. But otherwise, he would have had an empty net. Double sub by Wolves, Matt Doherty and Jean-Michel Bellegarde have come on, and coming off was the goal scorer Pablo Sarabia and Hwang Hee-chan. But it is still 1-0 and we're inside stoppage time.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. Let's head off and see how Napoli are getting on. Last time we heard, Victor Osimhen somewhat under the shackles in the game away at Cagliari. Still waiting for a first goal in this game, Andrew Bonacore, and we've played over an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the word shackles there, Barry. The player who's primarily been shackled has been Kvaratskhelia, who I feel a bit sorry for him. He beats one player. He uses all the skill in the world to get past one player, and then immediately runs into 2 more. So he's clearly been identified as the danger man. And when you think about the number of assists that he provided last season for Osimhen, you can understand why Cagliari have been focusing on cutting off that supply to the Nigerian striker. But Kvaratskhelia is getting a bit, let's say, he's getting a little bit frustrated at some of the treatment that's been meted out to him. Same for Raspadori, who's the third in that 3-pronged striking attack for Napoli. So Napoli slowly seem to be turning the screw, but that lack of space behind the Cagliari defence is really hard for Napoli to exploit. They're just so much more used to having a bit more space, but they were found out last season, and teams are just not giving them that space that they're used to. But with just about half an hour to go, it's still Cagliari 0, Napoli 0.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Let's get across to Wembley Stadium because Chelsea have come mighty close to taking the lead. Johnny Holmes.
Well, it's a brilliant stop by Kelleher from close range, but how's this not found the back of the net? Chelsea break. It's Gallagher on the right-hand side. He's got Jackson in the middle. He plays it across instead for the left-hand side towards Raheem Sterling, who loses it, and it comes away in the end from Sterling, and it's diverted goalwards. Is it Cole Palmer, I believe, who's diverted it towards goal and somehow not found the back of the net, and it's saved brilliantly. Close range by Kelleher, but how have Chelsea Chelsea, against the run of play, not put themselves in front. Still 0-0 after 21 minutes.
Well, he was a hero in the penalty shootout in the Carabao Cup final 2 years ago, Johnny. But my goodness me, that was a fantastic one-handed, left-handed save, wasn't it? It really was a good save.
Top save, but you have to feel that Palmer could have done better. It's one of those chances that's broken to him unexpectedly, so you just tried to get them on target. And as you say, Kelleher does really well. Strong, firm palm behind the ball to stop it from going into the back of the net. That really would have been against the run of play. It's been all Liverpool here. Chelsea on the break. They've got to take these chances. 0-0, 21 minutes played.
Wow, so a big chance there for Chelsea and a wonderful save from Kevin Kelleher in the Liverpool goal. Biggest moment of that cup final so far. Toulouse 2, Lille 1 in France now. Vincent Sierra's turned things around for mid-table Toulouse, who just trying to bag a few more points to be absolutely certain that relegation isn't something that they are involved with. Also in France, Mohamed Darami has scored for Rennes, who lead at Le Havre by a goal to nil. That's 12th against 8. Both those sides 5 without a win, so both needing a win just to